Things like this usually don't happen in a community like ours. It's very tragic.
Investigators release autopsy reports today for 8 members of an Ohio family killed execution style.
We begin tonight with a deadline that has passed for the mother of 2 missing children from Rexburg.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda, and if you're new here, we talk about all things true crime related. In today's video, we are going to be talking about day 8 of the preliminary hearing for Saelee-McCain, which took place on Tuesday, September 23rd. But before we jump into those details, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Both really help me out. Now, the lead detective would take the stand for the entire day of day 8, so basically from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And a lot of the testimony that she discussed was just revisiting some of the testimony from other witnesses. And that really makes sense if you've seen a lot of pretrial hearings or just trials in general. Usually it seems like the lead detective will take the stand last to kind of put all the pieces together and wrap it up all nicely for the jury, or in this case, the judge, in a preliminary hearing. It's being reported that Tyler is sitting at the defense table with his head down, and sometimes he'll have his hands on his face or covering his ears, but he won't be looking up at all. And from my understanding, this is how he's been the entire trial, except for that one day when he made that outburst about why he's arrested. Now, the district attorney would question the lead detective in the case about an interview with Nikki's sister, Chloe. She confirmed that Chloe told her about an incident where Jeanette contacted Chloe saying Nikki needed to be brought to the hospital. She also recounted that Tyler accused Nikki of cheating on him and slammed her head to the ground. The lead detective also discussed a meeting that took place. According to the detective, there was a meeting between Tyler's lawyer, Michael Voorhees, in his office regarding domestic violence charges that took place in 2023. But Nikki told her family that she believed this was just an attempt to pressure her into recanting her statement to police. The detective also went into detail about an incident that involved a check that Tyler had received with both his and Nikki's name on it. On May 29, 2024, Tyler attempted to cash a check that was required to have both Nikki and his signature on it. When he went in, it was only his signature, so he left, and about an hour and a half later, he would come back with both his and Nikki's signature on it. Later, investigators would compare the signature that was on this check and signatures that were known to be from Nikki, and they said that it appeared to be forged. And this directly ties into a charge that Tyler has, forgery. The detective also went on to testify about recovering burned items in November of 2024 by a local resident near Newcastle and Happy Valley Road, which is less than a mile from the McCain property. These items include burned credit cards and a burned cell phone. Now, the burnt credit cards were able to be identified as Nikki's, however, the cell phone was too damaged to recover any data from it. Forensic interviews would be conducted with 3 of the couple's children in February of 2025, and all 3 would say that they witnessed abuse between their parents, with the oldest saying that she believed Tyler was possessed, and that they also recalled Tyler punching holes in the walls, which matches up with evidence that we saw during the preliminary hearing in the master bedroom of the McCain home with holes in the walls. One child would describe waking up in the middle of the night to the sound of fighting and coming upon a scene with Tyler throwing their sister onto the ground and beating Nikki. In court, the prosecution would use a 13-page timeline. Now, I didn't get to see the document myself, but a news cafe, which is a local source I've been using, they're really helpful with the outline of the contents of it. So at 12:37 a.m. on May 18th, Nikki would send a text message to her sister Chloe about the incident. She's driving Jeanette home. We've heard about that. At 2:51 a.m., she would text Louise that she was going to sleep. And then at 3:08 a.m., her phone would drop off the network. Now, from that point, a flurry of unanswered calls and texts from multiple people would come in, including from her sister Chloe, Louise, and Tyler. Now, a day or so later, on May 18th at 3:15 p.m., Nikki's phone would register 2 incoming calls from Saelee-McCain. Then another few days later, on May 21st at 8:18 a.m., Tyler would text Nikki, "I get a check Thursday. How are the kids?" Now, on that same day, data points would show Nikki's Chevy Avalanche captured on Wind River surveillance entering Tyler's mother's property. It would be seen leaving Jeanette's property on May 21st at 2:37 p.m. Just a few hours later, at 6:32 p.m., Tyler would text Nikki, "I'm going to call the fucking cops." But there were no phone calls made around the time of this text message to 911. About an hour later, at 7:47 p.m., Nikki's Chevy returned to Jeanette's property, and it would leave the following day at 11:24 p.m. Now we're on to May 22nd, and later in the evening at 7:11 p.m., the Clear Creek Road landfill surveillance camera would pick up Nikki's Chevy heading west on Clear Creek Road. A few minutes later, another PLR would capture it continuing that way southwest at 7:17 p.m. Now, while the Avalanche was heading towards west, Tyler's phone data showed that his phone was stationary in the vicinity of the Wind River Casino, which is not far from Jeanette's home. According to another LPR, at around 4:35 a.m. on May 23rd, the avalanche was then seen coming eastbound back into Reading. So this suggests that the vehicle spent about 9 hours and 13 minutes out of the area. There would be some insinuating that during this 9-hour window, the driver could have reached the coast and came back. I guess it's only like 3 hours to the coast and then back into Reading. Investigators highlighted that the terrain out there is rural with cliffs and drop-offs, and that a body would be really hard to find, saying it would be like a needle in a haystack. Then at some point on May 23rd, Tyler's phone would be manually shut off and it would not be turned back on until May 22nd at 2:24 a.m. At 6:41 a.m. on May 24, 2024, a 911 call lasting 18 seconds would be placed from Tyler's phone to 911, but the detective would testify that there was no transcript available for this phone call due to the high call volume at this time, and that was, I guess, normal. And then at 11:43 a.m. on May 24th, Tyler would text Nikki saying, "I love you. I'm so sorry for everything." And then after all that, the judge ruled that there was enough evidence to proceed to trial. Tyler McCain is scheduled to be back in court on October 7th at 8:30 a.m., where his arraignment is set to take place. Currently, he remains in jail without bond. Nikki's family spoke briefly afterwards, and they just wanted to thank the Shasta County police officers and the district attorney's office, basically everyone who has helped with their sister's case. But that wraps up the preliminary hearing for Tyler McCain. I'll go ahead and make sure to keep you guys updated as this moves through the court process. I wouldn't expect anything other than a not guilty plea at his arraignment, and then a trial date would be set. I would love for him to do the right thing, to take responsibility and tell the family where Nikki is. But sadly, I don't think people like Tyler McCain know how to do the right thing. But if you've made it this far, thank you for being here. I truly appreciate you. Until next time, stay safe out there. The world's an ugly place.